on the assembly line, what we're really doing is putting in hundreds of hours into the people on the streets who need us. And they need us in a way that none of us will ever understand. And for the last couple of weeks, I've been on the grounds every day. They know we're coming today, they know we're coming tomorrow, and they look forward to seeing us because we're the one little bit of hope that they have to have a warm meal in their bellies and to know that somebody in the world is actually caring for them and loving them. And without people like you showing up today to give your time, your energy, and your spirit, none of this is possible. So I want to really say thank you to everyone, because what we're doing here today may seem small, but it's actually really, really big, and it's impacting hundreds and thousands of families. So I thank you, I love you, I look forward to doing this with you today. My name is Serena Buffalino, and I am the founder of Help Heal Humanity. Help Heal Humanity is a charity that is focused on unconditional giving, love, and support to some of the most vulnerable communities in the world.
Not my skill set, nor do I want to learn it.
Sometimes, because I put up stuff which I kind of test
in the wilderness. I don't know if I was the best one to teach them that. However, and although it was a really
that when you said, I was like, oh,
the baby out with the bathwater.
I do know where that.
So for me, rather than doing something half-heartedly or like just half. Good morning, Miss Beckley. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning. Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Time to Shine Happiness Show.
Yes, yes, yes. And we are here with what we call the BBs. My name is Barbara J. Beckley. I am the CEO and president of the Diamond Factor Network, where I was about to say, I try to make your dreams come true when it comes to being visible. I am a cheerleader. I, fight for people just to show up and get from under that unseen environment and just be seen and heard, because you have a gift in you and everybody needs to know that. And then you don't want to stop people's progression, because something that you have, you can help somebody else. And then Mrs. Barbara Ellis, wonderful queen.
Hi there, everybody. Yeah, I'm Barbara Ellison, founder of Wellness Playroom for the best version of you. And the thing is, I love working with late career business professionals who are facing retirement, but they have stress. They're stressed up the max. Their health could be declining. They have financial uncertainty going into retirement because what am I going to do when I don't have the job or I don't have the job title?
Yes.
And sometimes, and what happens is if they don't make that transition, they don't, number one, they don't thrive in retirement. And I want people to thrive in retirement, not just survive it, not just survive life, sit around, as my girlfriend says, to sit around watching soap operas and eating bonbons. That's not what retirement is about. But you have to start finding that while you're still working. So that's where I come in. Enjoy what you're doing now. Who are you within what you are doing right now?
Yeah. Well, Barbara, I was going to say one of my guilty pleasures is still two of my favorite soap operas.
Well, absolutely.
I go there sometime when it's like late at night when I really can't sleep or whatever, and I put on my guilty pleasure. I mean, I still love General Hospital, Young and the Restless. So I mean, but the funny part is there's still people there in decades, Bar, that are still there, and
that are still there.
Milestones.
And when you have it's like me, hey, what? I'm a Hallmark girl. Let's just say it. I love watching the Christmas movies. Right now, of course, they're having Christmas in July.
I know. That's what I'm about to say. They're too early. Couldn't they at least wait till like maybe August, September?
Yeah, they're having Christmas in July. I am loving it. The thing is, though, that's not all you do, but that's what happens to people so often. Is that because they don't know who they are outside of what they do? So, of course, consequently, when they retire. And they stop doing it. It doesn't mean that you stop working at your job. It doesn't mean you stop working at your life. There is a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm preaching to the choir here a little bit because that's exactly what happens to people. So you don't retire from life, but you find those things like you and I talk about it all the time. What makes your heart sing? Find that thing that makes your heart sing. It can be anything. It can be volunteering. It can be consulting. It could be learning a new skill, learning to play the piano. One of the things that yesterday I was listening to this thing on professionals and stuff like that. And I went, I want to take a photography class.
Okay.
Because I love going around taking pictures of people and stuff.
Okay.
Like when last week I went on my date, of course, and we went.
You said it out loud.
And haven't dated in 30 years. I'm just not used to it. Anyways, but it was very nice. But one of the places we went was a Japanese garden. Well, you know what? In those places, so many people want to take pictures. Mm-hmm. But so many couples there, here, I'll take you and then you take me. And so I go around to places like that, like Mount Rushmore, any touristy kind of place. And it'll be like, do you want me to take a picture of both of you? Oh, would you? Yeah. And that's one of my pleasures that it makes my heart sing.
Yes.
And it was like, yeah, I'd love to do that. And I did that whole bunches of times. But that's the thing. Do that thing that makes your heart sing. And that's why I'm so excited about today's subject, personal branding.
Yes, I love it.
Branding impacts your business.
Yes.
So many people think that they are separate. They're not. And Rachel is an expert, and we're going to have a great conversation about it. But I always thought, and I have to admit, I always thought of branding as just like, and I've said this to Rachel, that I always thought it was just your logo and your colors and your fonts and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, no, it's it's part of it is who you are.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to dip into that because I'm so glad that Queen Rachel is coming on today because I call her Lady Queen. So she needs her queendomship today. But yes, when I seen that she's going to be talking about branding, you brought her on as a guest, I was like, wonderful, wonderful. We're going to get right into the crux of what branding is. It's not just your logo. And I always tell people your website, your logo, your fonts, all that is wonderful, but it's you. It's you. Right. You make your brand. Right. I'm Barbara J. Beckley, CEO of my brand.
Right.
Your brand, Barbara Ellison,
I
CEO
am
of your brand.
CEO of Fearless Playroom.
And and you just make your brand, because when people get to know you, when they first meet you, you're already introducing your brand to them by introducing yourself.
Because that's your first impression. That's
Yeah.
the first impression.
That's the first impression. And that's, my personality, the way I come out, my wits, all that kind of stuff is part of your brand. So I tell people, when you discover that, awesomeness, and people are going to resonate or not resonate, but that's okay. People are going to sway to where you are the ones that's supposed to be. That's what I always tell people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a way to do it, which is what Rachel is going to get into, which I'm just so excited about. But how it relates to what I do is in your personal development. When you are developing your brand, you have to really get in touch with who you are.
Yeah.
Who are you, and how do you want to be perceived? And the thing is it's not our perception. It's how do you want other people to see you? And I think sometimes people have been known to forget that.
And get lost. Yeah.
And they get lost. And then their brand is out here. And then somebody says, well, didn't you say that over there? But that's not authentically you. That's why this is the Time to Shine Happiness show. We want you to be happy in what you're doing, but it's not who you are. And I think that's what happens to so many people. Like, one of the things that I work with my clients is that we have been brought up, and I know I've said this before, I'm probably preaching to the choir, but we have been brought up that when we do this, we will have that, and once we have that, we will be this. Well, it doesn't work that way. We have to be this first. Because once people know who you are we be this first, then you will do what you're supposed to do the way you're supposed to do it. And then you'll have everything that you could possibly want in life. And one of my things, I'm part of the People for People network too, in addition to the Diamond Factor network, and love it. But we are all about letting people know who you are, what you do, and why you do it. That's all part of branding. And that's why I'm so excited about today's show. It's going to be really cool.
Well, before we bring on the queen, last week I did mention something. I want to keep my promise.
Okay.
Since it's mid-year, I wanted to talk, at least give three main keys when it comes to, with this goal setting, navigating through your changes of, life is 6 months in. We're right smack in the middle of it because we're in July. So, Barbara, I'm going to bring up some things, and I want you to, because you know how we jump, right? We follow each other. So the first thing is, I want to ask this question, and then I'll give some tips. Where are you right now? And not just this for you, Barbara, or me.
Yeah, right.
For the audience.
For the audience.
Where are you right this second? Where are you? Are you on your goals? Are you just like rocking it? Or are you kind of like tipsy a little bit in it? Or are you just totally like, you know what? I haven't even touched none of the goals. In fact, I forgot what they were when I wrote them down in July or in January or whatever it was. And, I want to say to that is focus on the journey. Now, I did a little webinar the other day with some, I call them youngies, people younger than me.
Hey.
And
I understand. Hey, you're younger than me. I think I'm the oldest one here of these.
But believe me, they're younger than both of us. They're like right down there. So I said, remember that the journey towards your goals is as important as the destination.
Exactly. And
focus on the progress that you made now with gaining skills and developing along the way. Enjoy the journey.
Right.
Stop I didn't get it done. Okay, how does that make you feel when you're all like tensed up and pressured and like, I didn't, whatever. Give yourself some grace. Enjoy the journey. Learn as you go, even if it's something that you messed up on. Because, hey, Barbara, there's a lot of things that I kind of, didn't do right within the 6 months. But, I've learned from it. I grew from it, and I learned how to do something different.
Right. And that's, and that's the thing. I believe that every challenge is an opportunity to grow, because we don't grow in the good times. We celebrate the good times, hopefully, And if that's you, if you have not been celebrating that you've done something right, pat yourself on the back, do a happy dance, make sure you celebrate. Okay. But what happens is so many people get caught up in that, oh, I didn't get this done.
Yeah.
Stop that. Let it go. Fess up. If you messed up, fess up, take the heat, go on, start over. Tomorrow's another day.
I love how you say that. I love how you say that, Barbara. Stop that. Just
stop that. Go.
And you know what, Barbara? You're going right into my second point. So that's we're flowing here.
We flow. That's why we love this show.
So Mrs. Queen Barbara, the other Queen Barbara, said, stop that. So the next thing I would tell people is reevaluate your goals.
Yeah.
Adjust them. Maybe fit them into your current priorities or circumstance. Maybe something's changed between January and now, where you have to totally flip all your goals or flip things that you were supposed to. And that happened to me. I'm using me as an example for that because I was just trucking along in January saying, okay, I got to get this done. And this is my brand, as we're going to talk later with Queen Rachel and stuff. And then come to find out some of the stuff I was doing, Barbara, I didn't like doing it. In fact, I was doing it because I thought that needed to be done and I needed to show up in this area and stuff. And somebody told me, Barbara, your umbrella that you do as visibility is huge. There's so many things under the umbrella of visibility. You don't have to do it all. If you don't like doing social media management for people, then don't do it. Be a consultant in maybe social media. Maybe that you like more of that or coaching, but don't just throw yourself everywhere and say, and this is somebody, coach was talking to me. And I said, you know what? You got a point. So I had to reevaluate, reassess myself. And now I put together things that I like to do for people. They enjoy it. I enjoy it. And it seemed like that's, so yeah, reassess, readjust.
And let go of the things that aren't working or delegate them out, which is where you and I talked last week. If you're not enjoying it, stop doing it.
It's like,
because life is about, it doesn't have to all be fun and games. Absolutely. Because life has challenges. Mm-hmm. Right now, I've got a couple of challenges that I wish I didn't have. However, you know what? It'll all work out. Yeah. But you also have to take care of you and do you. Don't try to do somebody else. Mm-hmm. Oh, and that's so big in branding. I think people try to be somebody that they're not.
Yeah, the imposter syndrome.
Or they try to make their brand they copy somebody else's. How do you stand out if you're copying somebody else? Because they see that, in their mind, they're seeing them all, up there or whatever. Yeah, and they're like, well, I got to do that because they're doing it. And I'm like, but you're not them and they're not you. But you're not them. Stop the madness. Exactly.
This goes to my third point. I'm trying to make it quick because I know we got to bring the queen up in a minute. Identify lessons learned. We talked a little bit about that. Exactly. Yes, reflect on what you learned from trying to achieve your goals or not trying to achieve them. Maybe some got in the way. Maybe you got to learn, okay, maybe I need to prioritize. Maybe I need to create more boundaries. Mm-hmm. Identify what works and what didn't work and apply the insight to your future goals. So if something didn't work, why are you going to keep doing it? That's the thing of, you keep doing something over again. Definition of insanity. You don't need to go insane. Not for something that you're trying to do in your life. So yes. And it can be something simple. Okay, like right now, as you know, I am learning TikTok. Yes. Can I celebrate? One of my posts got over 2,000 views. The rest of them, but I had one that was like goose egg, zip, or 5. It was like, okay, well, that one didn't work, But then that's exactly what you just said. It applies to everything. Take a look at what you did, reevaluate it. Did you mess up? Okay, go on. If you need to reevaluate and do something different, okay, see what you need to do something different. If you're like Barb said, if you don't like doing it, if it really does need to be done, then delegate it. Delegate it to somebody in your tribe, who loves to do it. And it's the thing that makes their heart sing is to do that thing that you don't like doing. Yeah. It's like, yeah. And
and it's we go around the block ourselves so many times, and that's been me this week. It's like, why is this happening to me? Well, what are you learning from it? Well, I'm learning to trust the process.
Patience.
Life is a process.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a destination.
See?
Like you said, enjoy the journey, the
Mm-hmm.
ups and the downs. And one of the memes that I saw is people want life to be like this. Just you're chugging along, you're going up and up and up and up. In reality, life is like this. Whoop, wrong way. That was detour. Okay,
sometimes it's been backflips.
And sometimes it's backflips. And right now I'm in a backflip situation. And it's like, don't quite know what to do about it, but it'll all work out. But the thing is, there's nothing I personally can do about it. Yeah. It's a circumstance that's beyond my control. So this morning it was like, oh, and then I'm like, Barbara, really? Seriously? I'm talking to myself, not you. Barbara, but sometimes it's fun with like, okay, Barb, but I am talking to you. But this time I was talking to me. It's like, okay, Barbara, really, can you do anything about this situation right now as it stands?
No. Yeah, especially like you said, Barbara, glad you mentioned that. If you don't have no control over it all, why are you? I mean, it's just to the point where you just can't do nothing except just let whatever.
Now it's like, oh, well.
Yeah.
It's just, and that's why it's so important to recognize that. Yeah. So this morning, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I shed a few tears over it. It was like, and then it was like, okay, just because the emotion has to come out. And that's another thing. Let the emotion out. If you are so angry that you want to scribble it down, write it down, whatever, get it out of your body. But the other side of that too is like, I was just feeling a little anxious this morning about this so stupid, and it's just stupid stuff. But it's those little, but if you bury it and let it fester, guess what? It grows. It grows.
Yes.
So let it go.
Yeah.
Get it out of your body. Tell somebody. So and friends of mine say, but Barb, you're telling it on a live TV show. It's like, well, yeah, why not? I'm talking to somebody else is going through something else that they're having to deal with.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Get it out of your body, because if you internalize it, it causes more harm than good.
Yes.
So get it out.
And I'm glad that you said that. I'm glad that you said that let it out now, because like you said, when it festers in and internalizes even more and more, it grows, it gets bigger. And then now you might deal with some physical part with you, some more mental part going on. Yep. And then and it's like, why? You don't have to do all that. Just scream at the beginning of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Or you'll explode on some innocent bystander that happens to be walking by.
Well, even a friend
or your child, or
it could be anybody, friend, family member, work coworker.
Coworker. A friend of mine one time was so angry he slammed his fist on his dashboard and cracked his dashboard.
That's upset.
Yeah. So you've got to let it out.
Woo.
Let it out. But he was like, okay, yeah, I think I need to do something about it. I gotta let's take care of this. All right, absolutely too. Know when you need to have help with something.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely.
That was, I mean, I'm glad he let it out, but then that was expensive let out, because then he had
and that was exactly it. And that's when he realized, he said, oh yeah, I guess I really need to deal with and I don't remember the details of what he was dealing with. He said, I guess I really need to deal with this. And he knew what had caused it. He knew the underlying, but it came out as something else.
And that's what happens
And that's what happens, because whatever you bury doesn't stay buried. It's going to come out somewhere, somehow.
Yeah. Well, so I wanted to make sure I gave a few tips, because I know it's the middle of the year, and just something to think about. And I said the last thing I want to leave before we bring up our wonderful Queen Rachel is give yourself some grace. Give yourself some grace. Life happens, things happen, and I'll tell this story maybe on our other Time to Shine show, but for the last month and a half, I had some really serious health challenges.
Yep.
And it stopped. I mean, literally stopped a lot of stuff within my business and my day job, because I work day and I do my stuff in Wonder Woman stuff at night with
Yep.
my own business. And I had to literally stop and ask people for grace, because I couldn't do what I needed for them. They couldn't do what they needed because I was like their, so a lot of that happened, and all of my goals and everything else that I had, whatever, like I did a flip.
Out the window.
Backflip, like you said, we said.
Yep.
So just give yourself some grace, because things do happen. And then through the times that things happen, like we said earlier, learn and grow from that.
Yep.
Maybe there's some insight, because I mean, after I had to basically sat down basically for a few weeks, I really started to really think about the bigger picture of what I'm doing. And like Barbara always says, we only have this lifetime. We don't want to waste it. So you got to do reflections of that. So that's one of the leaders. Just give yourself some grace.
Give yourself some grace.
Give yourself some grace. So Barbara, our wonderful queen today, give us a little tidbit about her, and we'll bring her on.
Yeah. We met on LinkedIn and just had a great conversation about branding and stuff. And I'm doing my own branding. So it just kind of dovetailed into, it's like, oh, we need that. Because branding is a perception, but it's not our perception. It's how people see you. And it's one of the most important things that you can do for yourself, and especially if you're in a business.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really important for you to do it for yourself. Yes, you want people to see who you are authentically, but it's doubly important when you're trying to build a business and a brand and a professional brand. So that's what Rachel and we're going to talk about that.
Okay, so we're going to bring Ms. Rachel on soon, Queen Rachel, soon as we have our sponsor, and we'll be right back.
Good Friday, everyone. Your real worth isn't defined by your net worth. What makes you valuable is how you use what you have been given. All of us have gifts. Make sure you're making the most of yours. Have an amazing Friday.
It is now the bottom of the hour. I'm excited to welcome Nancy Matthews to our program today. Nancy is an author of a book. I'm going to go ahead and highlight it in the carousel for you guys. There it is, The One Philosophy. I want to talk to Nancy not only about the re-release of the book, but also what it's been like for her to share the message with all of you guys. Nancy, great to have you on with us.
Hello, hello, hello. So happy to be here.
And we are back. We are back with another wonderful queen. So if you're just showing up, you're just chiming in, this is the Time to Shine Happiness Show with the BBs, Barbara J. Beckley and Barbara Ellison. And we have the wonderful, amazing, tremendous Mrs. Rachel Miller. She's going to get into co-branding. But before we get into that, we just want to welcome you, lady. I know it's my first time meeting you, but I feel the love already. And thank you for coming on the show. The topic that you're bringing is really much needed right now to always remind people. I'm so glad that we're going to be talking about the impact of branding. But before we do that, I always tell other Barbara, I like to hear just a little background, like a little backstory of our guests. So can you just give us a little of that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me. So I got into the branding world about 10 years ago. I was studying branding, and at around the same time, I was looking for a therapist. And I started to notice a correlation between the mental health world and branding when I realized that so many therapists were just marketing themselves with a smiling headshot and a paragraph on Psychology Today. And you were making this extremely vulnerable decision about who you were going to trust with your truest, most deep self based on a smiling picture and like 6 sentences. And while I was learning about the impact of brand and the way that it essentially serves as a matchmaking tool to help people, really find the right fit and resonate on a visceral level with someone, I realized that there was a big need for that in the mental health space. So I started freelancing, and then in 2020 went full time into my business. And I've worked with over 100 clinicians since then, just helping mental health practitioners really come into their own and embrace who they are and find their people. So that's what I do, and I love it very much. Yeah, that's my background.
I knew you was a rock star. Wow. You know what? I love how you put it, where the mental part, with that compared to branding. And that, I just now that clicked in. When you just said that really clicked into my head. I said, she's right. Because it does, they both kind of come hand in hand there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. So yeah.
And I think that's what we talked about in the first half, is that I think so many people don't realize that. They don't realize that. They think it's two separate things. And they think they can be one way in their personal life and one way in their business life. Well, when you're trying to brand yourself in your business, you realize how connected they are.
Absolutely. You are your business. You are an extension of your business. Your business is an extension of yourself. And if you can show up authentically in your personal life and show up authentically in your business, you're going to see an alignment that really allows you to achieve your goals. But a lot of the time you see people squeezing themselves into the box of what they think they should be, and trying to make themselves fit in this package that just isn't sincere, and people see through that. So it's branding is not only an important step to go on as a business, but also a really intense journey to go on when you're asking these crucial questions about who you are as an individual.
Yeah, that's I was just thinking, like you said, that you have to you kind of live in two worlds if you start to try to separate, and that's not, to me, that's not making you. I mean, you got to make yourself happy first to help make others, to help others or make them or whatever. You got to be happy. If you're one world, you're like, yeah, I'm just da 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 da, and then as soon as you go home and shut the door, you're like, whatever, because you're being that other person. That's like double lives.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you can't, it doesn't sustain that long, believe me. And if it is, then you might not be a happy camper. Yeah.
Which is why I think you see sometimes some of the more famous examples of people that just kind of fall apart, and they do it in such a big way because they haven't been being authentic on their journey.
Yeah.
Because you can't sustain, if you're not being you can't sustain it. You can't sustain being somebody else. Or trying to be or have your business mimic somebody else's business because their business was successful. Well, the thing that made their business successful is not necessarily the thing that's going to make yours successful.
Yeah, what made their business successful is them embodying who they are. And when you try to put that mask on and pass it off as your own, that sincerity wears off quick, and consumers, they might not realize why they feel a certain way about a brand, but they will realize what they feel about a brand. And that lack of sincerity really throws it off. Well, when we're designing a brand, we think about so many different things: colors, fonts, symbolism, the visual side of things, and then also brand voice, brand values, really the more intrinsic components of who these identities are, right? When we're making these decisions, we're doing so in a really deliberate way. There are all kinds of studies about how colors make people feel, how different fonts and styles of type make people feel, how different symbolism, the stories that they can tell. But people aren't going to look at a logo and say, it's purple, it makes me feel calm. They're just going to feel comfortable. You know, these are visceral reactions that people are having to different components of a brand identity, but they don't understand why most of the time. They just know whether or not they trust you, and whether or not they feel comfortable with you, and whether or not they resonate with you. And then from there, that's, you know, how people take action or don't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they always say that people buy on emotion, and then of how they feel about something, and then they justify it with logic. Well, this is, I did this, but this is why I did it. But that first emotion is, I think, what really sets a brand apart. How does the brand make you feel? Like one of my biggest things that I've been working on is I want people to feel welcomed. That you can be you around me. To be authentic, to be your authentic self. You don't need to. I'm non-judgmental. Hey, you come, tell me your baggage. All right, there. Okay, what do you want now? What do you want to do about it? Okay, fine. Because we all have baggage, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah. Oh, gee, Barb, thank you. Yeah. Just, oh, I do. Yeah. That's exactly what I want. That's exactly what I want. I want to feel welcomed and accepted. We all want that. So find the brand that makes you feel that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And just like, vulnerability, like we've been mentioning a few times, we've been saying it a few times, is, I've learned through my experience, and this is what I think that makes your brand too, is your experience is what you go through to get you to a point to say, okay, I am going to be vulnerable enough to tell my story or tell what I went through or tell what I dealt with and where I am now, because I want to help somebody else maybe in that same situation. So that's why when people say, well, Barbara, do you feel comfortable talking about your story about, I'm just going to use, one of example, my dad, because he passed when I was 17. And do you feel comfortable? Because I know you went through, really was tough that year. And I'm like, I feel very comfortable now, because if it's going to help at least one person out there to say, you know what, she went through what I went through, and she was thinking about suicide and all that kind of stuff, then yeah, I want to say that story because it can help somebody else anywhere globally. So I think by being vulnerable, it helps other people kind of just say, you know what, if they can do that on camera, on video, on a show, then why can't I be myself in front of people? And if they don't like me, they don't like me. If they like me, wonderful, and that's where you have to get to that point, because if you start thinking that everybody has to love you and like you for who, for what you do, and some people don't, then you get into that, well, maybe I need to change myself. Or, Barbara did say that I laugh too hard, so maybe I need to start laughing so much, and somebody told me that. That's a true story. I was on another show and I was laughing, and sometimes I get, they're like, Barbara, next time you need to calm down with the laughing. It wasn't that funny. I was like, wow. Well, and for a minute, just for a second, I was going to start, toning down my laugh. And then I was like, and then I started doing, I was like, I don't feel right. This is not me. It was like, and I would stop. And I was like, no, that's not me. So I went back to my joyful self.
Exactly.
Yeah. But don't let people, deter you. Yeah. Because, really, they told me, they said, you need to stop, because that's just overbearing. People want to hear that on the video. You're too loud. It was a lot of stuff going on. I was like, okay.
But Rachel, don't you think that people do that with their brand too? I can't do that because what will people think if I do that as a brand?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. People worry about the implications of showing up as themselves. And really, it's like you can't afford not to. It's not a risk to show who you are, because you're going to find your people, and your people are going to resonate with you. Not everybody is for everybody, and that's okay. And it's more valuable to go all in on who you are and who resonates with you than it is to try to be everybody's cup of tea. It's, if you don't resonate with someone specific, you're not going to resonate with anyone. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the time, this is less about, being who you are. But when we talk about niche and we talk about who you want to serve, like, Barb, I know we recently had a conversation. You were talking a lot about, figuring out, this is what I really love, this is what really lights me up, this is what I should be doing. A lot of the time, people will avoid niching and avoid picking a particular specialization because they're afraid of turning away everyone else. You know, what if I specialize too much in this area and I don't get business, right? That's a really big concern. But what happens when you're too much of a generalist is you don't stand out to anybody, you know, let alone the right people that you enjoy working with, that light you up, that really feed your soul. You know, that's what we're going for. It's about really embodying what you're passionate about, who you're passionate about working with, and stepping into that fully, as opposed to being afraid of turning other people away. Because it's not like if you're niched in one area, you're not allowed to work with anyone else. You can do whatever you want. But, you know, you're telling people this is who I am and this is what I'm passionate about. And they have that information to, you know, decide whether you're a fit.
Ooh, I'm getting all excited over here because you, Rich, I feel like you're in my head right now. That's where I was just a few weeks ago where, and I was just saying it earlier with Barbara that, you know, the life of visibility, the subject of visibility, because that's what I deal with. I thought I had to be everything and everybody within visibility, social media, video. I mean, I thought I had to be everywhere, podcast, everything. And I was like, this is so much. In fact, I felt pressured myself. And sometimes people can see it, like you said, people can see after a while the pressure or the stress or whatever you're dealing with, because it's something that you might not should be doing. And I said to myself, I don't have to be everything to everybody. That's why there's other experts and stuff out there doing what they do. I need to just do what I'm good at. I feel I can give some of my gift to people and help them out. So I really had to just, you know, stand back and really think about that, because you just said earlier about, if I don't do it, then I might miss out on somebody, or they might say, well, if you don't do that, then forget you or whatever. And I was thinking that too. I was like, well, if I let this go, it might let go some people here. And I'm like, well, Barbara, again, this is not, you don't have to do everything. So yeah, you have to go through that, talk to yourself on that level. And then basically come out and saying what you really want to do and knit yourself to a certain point of saying, this is the people that I serve. Like, and I like how you said, it's not because you can't serve other things, but this is what you really do and what you love to do. Yeah.
You know, and one of the things I always tell people is like, there's 7 billion people on this planet. There's room for all of us. Even it doesn't matter whether you're in the same niche as somebody else, because you are you. You're your unique self. And and exactly what Rachel just said, you are going to attract your tribe. You might attract a few people who are not your tribe, and yet, they respect what you do. Great. You can help them too. However, this is what we've been talking about. Attract the people who you want to work with, that you can help them to the nth degree, not this little 10% because you think you're trying to be somebody else. So that was for somebody out there. Yeah, just do you. Do you in your brand and in your person and in your personal, because they are intertwined. So intertwined. Yeah.
I always say when someone goes to start a business that they should start not with just what they want to do in their business, but also with what they want their life to look like and what they want their relationship with their business to look like. Like it's really about what you want. You know, you have all of the potential in the world to create something that fits perfectly into your vision for your life and what you do and who you serve and how you do it. And, you know, people are so stuck in what they think success means and what they think they're supposed to do and trying to prove that they're hitting all these marks, when if you just authentically chase your own goals and run your own race and walk your own path, you're going to get there, you know?
Yes. Yeah. And you're going to be happy, and you'll be happy and content doing it instead of struggling or stressed out or that imposter syndrome. And I every time I hear that word, I get upset because I hate for people to be somebody else and they have such a special gift in them. And that's what I get on people when I get them as well. I don't get on them, but I explain to them that you don't have to be you yourself is important enough. You don't have to be the other person. I know they look like and that's wonderful. And you want to cheer and, happy for them. But I want you to sit there and be happy for you and don't think that you have to be the other person. Yeah. Because I've been there.
And influencer culture has really had an interesting impact on all of this, because you see these people who seem perfect. Yes. And you think, I need to be perfect, right? And I need to emulate them in these certain ways. When TikTok became super popular, something that we saw in the branding and marketing world is that people are really connecting with more casual posts and more casual content, and people just kind of setting up their phone and talking and being real, as opposed to these like polished, more formal content pieces. So like TikTok, for example, most of the time when you're scrolling through, you're going to see a lot of people dancing. You're going to see a lot of people doing stuff. But you're also going to see a lot of people just setting up their phone and talking. And those videos tend to do really well because people are invited to connect. It almost feels like you're on FaceTime with someone. You're invited into their world. You're invited into who they are. And that's becoming more and more impactful. And now other platforms are adopting that same structure because people are leaning more toward real people, and less toward commercial and polished and perfect. And I think that's becoming more and more of an invitation for people to show up as they are.
Yeah, cool. I'm glad you brought that out, Rachel. You're so right, because when you're just do you and just be out there and mess up whatever, while you're on video, people tend to draw to that more so than all this polished and, put together and everything, because we're human. We make mistakes. Things happen. Your internet goes out for a minute. Your screen might mess up. Your sound might whatever. It just happens. And people are like, wow, they're on here every day and there's stuff going on with them. So I don't feel so bad. So yeah,
things happen. I remember one day I was doing a podcast for My People for People. And it was like going to start. Luckily, it was a recording. And I welcome everybody and welcome to the Time to Shine. I went, oops, nope, wrong podcast. Sorry, hold on. Give me, and I know the girl that does all the editing. I said, sorry, Crystal, I'll give you 10 seconds. Count to 10, start over. Well, one of the people on there, we now work together in another project. And she said, Barb, that was the first time I met you. She said, and that's what I want to be so real that you just went on. You just, hey, sorry, wrong podcast. Let's start over. And it was, I want to be that, because I have been so afraid to start something because I thought I had to be perfect and couldn't make a mistake.
Nobody's going to be 100% perfect 100% of the time.
No. Life, things happen. One day I was on an international podcast and my cat knocked my virtual background over. Oops.
You were on this show when that happened too.
I think it happened on this show one time.
You said, up, and all of a sudden everything.
It went.
I was like, hey, this is real. This is live.
This is real and it's live. And so life is live. So don't sweat the small stuff. Life is live. Live it. Enjoy it. Do your journey. Go, oh, well, I messed that one up. Okay, so what's next?
Yeah. We keep it. I always say we keep it moving, because if you get so engaged in what's ever going on, the app or whatever, and then you're wasting time to get to where you need to go, so you can really get to the individuals or people you're trying to talk to. But if you're so busy talking about, oh no, my lights went out. Oh my God, what is it going to happen? And then people looking at you, you're on live. It's like, okay, you can only do so much unless you're just going to take yourself down. So you just keep it going. There's people I interviewed where all of a sudden we're talking and whoop, they're off the screen and it's just me. And what you're going to sit there and be like, you're going to have to say something. Yeah. You're on live here. So, and that happened to me and Barbara a few times where I went out, I think whatever was going on, and she was on the screen for like maybe 10 minutes. And she just talked about a topic that probably helped a lot of people.
But that's so true about your brand too. So if you have done something in your branding that, ooh, maybe I need to rethink that, just say, hey, you know what? I need to rethink that.
Yeah, it's okay.
And then do it. And rethink it. And if you want to change it, do it.
Yeah.
It's so normal to evolve out of a brand or to grow out of it, or trends change, things change. Like I always tell people, every couple of years you want to reevaluate, make sure it still feels right for you. It's people think, oh, I made this horrible mistake. It's almost like you're embarrassed to show up with like an outfit that you wore 10 years ago. It's really continuing to embrace who you're becoming, and being open to reevaluating and re-asking these questions.
Yeah, so important.
So important. Well, Miss Rachel, see, this is every time we have a wonderful conversation, the time goes. But I want everybody to know, please reach out to this wonderful queen regarding branding. You see, she is the real expert deal. And I told you before, she was amazing, excellent. Well, see, after talking to her, you should know that by now. Go to her link for consultants. Looks like a strategy call that she'll have for you. And I might just take that up myself. I always, when I see the queens doing what they do, and I feel like there's something that can, that can help me, just like you have to look at yourself and what can help you. Right. Reach out to the individuals. That's why we bring them on too, is you never know who you need to move the scale, move the needle in your life. Because that's what it's all about, is just moving that needle in your life, not being stagnant, but just moving. And if it takes somebody else that you need to make a phone call and they can help you in that area, do it. Just do it. Yes. So we got to put you back on, Rachel. Yeah. You're family now.
I'd love to. Anytime. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yes, thank you too. So Barbara, next week we're going to have another wonderful guest coming on. And as Barbara always says, what do you always say, Barbara?
Just let's make happiness the norm rather than the exception. Because Barbara and I have agreed that we just think that life is too short. And each and every one of us deserves to lead a happy, healthy, debt-free, abundant life. Well, that's where branding comes in. That's going to help you get there. Yes. But do you in your branding? Okay. Do your company. Do what you stand for, so that you stand out in the marketplace, because your tribe will find you.
Yes.
So important.
So important. You are the CEO of yourself.
You are the CEO of you.
With that, see you next week. Bye.
Have a good one, everybody. Well, goodbye, everybody, and thank you so much for listening to the Time to Shine Happiness Show. I'm your host, Barbara Ellison, and I look forward to seeing you next time, where we will have a great guest talking about making happiness the norm rather than the exception. Because we believe that each and every one of us deserves to lead a happy, healthy, debt-free, abundant life, whatever that means to you. So join us again. And please, to get reminded, hit the subscribe button or the like button wherever you're listening to us. And we will see you next time. Have a great week. Bye, everybody.